Welcome to Digital Nation, your weekly feast of the best of local TV. And whether it's news from down the road or across the country, we bring you the stories you just don't see anywhere else. This week, we meet Sergeant Bilko's biggest fan in Coventry. We meet Master Magician Dean in Manchester. We discover a cosplay cabal at a comic convention in Brighton. And we pop to Portsmouth to cheer on the cooking carers whose weekly meetings are making all the difference. Steve Everett has an affinity with actor Phil Silvers. And how better to show that you're a #1 fan than by creating the world's first and only museum to Sergeant Bilko. Intrigued? Big Centre TV tells us more.
An obsession that has dominated his life. This man from Coventry is consumed by the one and only Phil Silvers, who is perhaps most recognisable for starring as Sergeant Bilko in 1950s TV programme The Phil Silvers Show. Such as his love for Silvers, he even set up an entire museum dedicated to the actor.
It started around about 1981. I was living at home with my mum and dad, and they'd all gone to bed, and Bilko had been on the BBC since 1957, and it occupied a late night slot on BBC One on a Sunday evening. So everyone had gone to bed, and I was channel hopping. Now, in those days, you could only channel hop on 4 channels. And I channel hopped onto an episode of Bilko called The Empty Store, and that got me hooked.
I'm standing right here in Steve's Emporium, which is full of vintage TV memorabilia. If I turn to my left, shelves of Phil Silvers items are stacked on top of one another. And if I turn to my right, there's even more.
I've been collecting probably since my father introduced me to Laurel and Hardy when I was a toddler. So I've been collecting now for probably nigh on 40 years. It is the only Phil Silvers museum in the world, and we've got some really nice pieces here as well. It's uncountable what they mean to me, particularly his glasses and his jacket. They are irreplaceable.
Although Steve never had the opportunity to meet his idol before he died, there's one connection to the star that keeps Steve's memories very much alive.
We've got a very, very strong connection with the family. They appreciate what we do to keep their dad's memory alive.
Having spent the morning with Steve, it's no wonder that this starstruck fan is described as Phil Silvers' adopted son.
Over to Brighton now, where Mary Beveridge of Latest TV meets the costume aficionados at the Brighton Film and Comic Convention. Game of Thrones actor and man of many faces, Tom WLASCHIHA, pops up in this clip too, but this time as himself.
Brighton Comic Con is in full swing. Now, earlier on today, I met some pretty familiar faces in my quest to find the best cosplayer.
We do a lot of cosplay.
Quite a lot of money on it as well. So.
Yeah, we even have a room in our house that's dedicated to cosplay and craft.
Well, this took about 100 light years, but no, actually about 2 weeks.
It's a real chainsaw that has been completely gutted and then resprayed the parts, and this is hand cut.
Oh, it's definitely not just for kids. Heavens above, I dress up more than they do, and I'm their mum. I love it, yeah.
It's usually the atmosphere and the people that are here and the effort that they put into their costumes is just really good to see.
There's a real respect, there's a real... I don't know, it's like a community, people, you just sort of get chatting to people, completely random strangers.
It's just nice wandering around talking to different people about different bits and bobs.
Literally, people put in so much effort to these things, and it's just such fun to go and be anybody you like for a weekend.
And as much as I tried, Tom WLASCHIHA, otherwise known as Jack and Hagar, simply wouldn't tell me what to expect from the next season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, what's to come? Will I survive? Who's gonna die? Is Jon Snow really dead?
Do you know
stuff
all
like
these
that.
things?
Of course I do.
Oh my gosh! So you actually know what's going to happen, not just your character.
No, I don't know. I know what happens next season because we're shooting next season at the moment. But beyond that, I have no idea.
I had an amazing time. I geeked out hard, and I'll almost certainly be going back.
Dominic Brunt of Emmerdale fame is a big fan of horror movies. And it turns out, so is his screenwriter wife, Joanne Mitchell. In this next clip, they talk about their new dark revenge thriller, Bait. which explores the current crisis of loan sharks and dealing with debt. Here's Sheffield Live to tell us more.
People probably recognise you, Dominic, more from Emmerdale.
Yeah.
But what attracts you so much to horror?
I don't know, I've never thought about it. I genuinely never thought about it. I just really like horror. I don't like the spiteful horror. I don't like things like Hostel or the latest Saws. I really like Saw. But I'm not into torture as entertainment.
Can you tell us a little about the film?
Joe produced it and wrote the story.
You wrote the story? That's brilliant. Can you tell us, well, what was your inspiration? What were your ideas and how did it come about?
Well, basically, we'd done a bit of research into loan sharks and stuff like that, and we've had, you know, you can only look on the internet and you'll find stories about loan sharks. And there's a story in Cheshire, there's stories in Indonesia, Poland, and places like that. So that's where we got our kind of inspiration from, and we actually wanted it to be very much a female-led film. I mean, to be honest, it could have been a husband and wife, it could have been two friends, it could have been two lads, it could have been anyone. I suppose being a female and wanting to sort of push female into the thriller horror market, I wanted it to be two females. So it just seemed perfect for that kind of story. And obviously the story doesn't just follow it does follow two females, but it also tells the story of other people within that situation.
In my opinion, home carers are the nation's unsung heroes. And at Digital Nation, we're only too happy to salute their wonderful work. So in this next heartwarming feature, we travel to Portsmouth and That's Solent TV to meet Cooking Carers, a group that brings relief to these hard-working and supportive superstars.
I was feeling a bit down, and I came in and I was sitting out there waiting for it to be interviewed with another lady, and I heard all this laughter coming from inside here, and I thought, well, I wish I felt like that. I didn't know what was going on, you see, and I went and had a talk about it and told him all my problems, you know, looking after my husband, who was 88 last week, and I'm 85 in April. And suggested different things to do, and she said cookery. And I thought, well, that would be something different. And I started coming to classes about 14 months ago. And I found the group, you know, very great, you know, and something to look forward to, and interested, and you know, they're brilliant. You know, you meet different people.
Do you look after your husband full time?
Yes, yeah, and he's got all different things wrong with him, but when he says, well, I'm 88, you know, I'm lucky to be here, and he has to go different places for treatment and that, and I'm the driver and take him, you know, wherever he has to go, so, and sometimes it just gets a bit, you know, catches up with you, and this sort of, you know, you forget it, relax.
I came here because my wife has got osteoporosis and she's bedridden now, and I went for the social, you know, to get help. But my wife is always so independent, she won't accept anything. She expects me to do everything, you know. Like I do the washing and cleaning and do the laundry and everything, and also shopping and everything, you know. She's just bedridden. Being a carer, you feel you're the only one, you know, nobody understands you, you know, and I got a bit depressed in that, and I started getting ulcers on my legs, and oh dear me, I could end up in tears sometimes, you know. It's really gets me down sometimes, you know.
But being here obviously makes a difference for you.
Oh, when I go out, I feel so much relief. You know, when I come through the door, I was really tensed up. But just talking to people, and you can say anything.
Let's head to Tyne and Wear for a night out with the heroic Fire and Rescue Services and their trusty, targeted response vehicle. Now, controlling and putting out dangerous fires is their raison d'etre. And in this clip, we follow their busy schedule.
375 calls and 127 incidents for Tyne and Wear Fire and Rescue Service last night. That's 4% less than last year, but more importantly, it's the lowest number of calls and incidents for the past 12 years. The shift started at 6 p.m. and I was straight out, under the guidance of firefighters Carl Laverick and Darren Mead. And after a series of rubbish and bin fires, police requested the TRV's assistance on what was the 9th call of the night.
We used our TRV vehicle which has got a high-pressure hose reel on. As you can see, we've been requested by the police to deal with this incident.
And after a quick refill of water at one of the hundreds of fire hydrants around Tyne and Weir, another call came in. This one, though, too big for the TRV to deal with.
It's too close to the road, there's traffic there, the police have called us out, so our hands are tied, really.
Obviously, when you turn up to a fire, if it's obviously too big for this, we'll make up. So that we'll get a pump. We've got actually mic one, I think it was there.
We've had a further message sent down. That's a concerned caller because the fire's up against, might be up against our fence. This one here, there's nothing I can do with this, so I'm just going to get back under control.
Some reported calls are from concerned residents, but the firefighters can assess whether or not the fire is needed to be extinguished. This one, along with a few others on the shift, were under control with adults in attendance. So after 12 incidents attended to, my shift was over, but Carl and Darren were on for another 9 hours. And with calls down 4% from last year and incidents down 29%, Tyne and Weir Fire and Rescue can be happy with their night's work. And let's not forget, it's not just fire that makes firefighters' jobs dangerous. It seems to be footing too.
That's it for part 1. But before we leave you, it's quiz time. The world's oldest record shop is in which UK city? Is it A, Sheffield, B, Portsmouth, or C, Cardiff? Join us after the break for the answer. Welcome back to Digital Nation. Before the break, we asked you, the world's oldest record shop is in which UK city? And the answer is C, Cardiff. The world's first record shop was opened in 1894 by Henry Spiller, and the shop originally specialised in the sale of phonographs. Next, we meet a unique young man whose physical challenges have spurred him on to inspiring achievements and a creative compulsion to entertain the pub-going people of Manchester. Dean LAHAN is a man on a mission to beguile and fool. So pick a card, any card.
Stockport's Dean LAHAN has the skills, sleight of hand and polished finesse of a rising magician. But unlike his contemporaries, he manages without fingers. When Dean was only 18 months old, he contracted meningitis, which took all of his fingers from his left hand and also his right leg. But in spite of this, Dean took up magic 5 years ago and is now gaining a growing following in the greater Manchester area.
The way I've been brought up is not to let things stop me, and I was quite cheeky as a kid, so I used to always just be throwing my leg here, there and everywhere. Sports day at school, I used to just throw my leg off and win the race for a hopping race, and they just always not let it get me down, really. You get a feeling inside knowing you fooled someone in a way, and it's that confusion with love. Like I said, it's about love for performing. It's just a really nice feeling inside to sort of know that you can do things to make someone's day. Every move which I learn, I can't do it the original way. So I have to think of new ways in order to do that move. And like I said, at first I couldn't even hold a pack of cards, so I had to start to work the muscles in my hand to be able to re-grip cards, basically.
Starting off in an early life, having a leg missing and your fingers missing, I think the odds seem to be against you, but he's never let it get him down anywhere at all. I think it's made him try a lot harder.
Magic is not Dean's only talent, having recently got into the GB sledge hockey team and well on the way to a degree in illustration. Dean's abilities stretch across the spectrum.
When I very first met him, I watched his card tricks and I was absolutely amazed, and everybody in the pub was amazed at what he does. That's why he's been here a few times and he's performed. In fact, he's in here tonight. Just brilliant. And everybody he meets is impressed not just by his card tricks and by what he can do, it's him. He is the most impressive thing.
With the Northwest Magician Circle Award already in the bag, and after a Facebook video has gone viral, the big lights might just be around the corner for the man they call the fingerless magician.
You probably already know that Leyland in Lancashire is a hotbed of melon growing. What's that? You didn't know that? Well, Digital Nation likes to bring you those hidden gems of local knowledge. And behind this walled garden in Warden Park, we discover the gardening techniques dating back to before the digital age.
Leyland's best-kept secret is hidden away behind walls just near the maze in Warden Park, where they grow something that you might not expect to see in this country.
The wall garden originates from 1777. It belonged to the Farrington family who used to live in Worden Hall, part of Warden Park in Leyland. The garden was used like the allotment garden, the kitchen garden originally. They had some developments into the 1800s, including a vine house, the melon pit, which the melons are grown in, and various other historical buildings.
Since we've renovated the gardens, we've sort of tried growing melons in the traditional plots that they had in the gardens now. It's been quite successful. They grow very similar to cucumbers and things like that, but what they do need is lots of light and high humidity.
We support adults with learning disabilities 7 days a week. So the people we support have the opportunity to work in the community. They have the opportunity to learn skills, whether it would be horticulture based, whether it would be life skill based, breaking down those barriers that we have with vulnerable groups in society. We get a chance to talk to customers who come to visit, and they have the opportunity to feel good about what they do, what they want to learn, how they let people know what they're doing, and just general socialisation in this safe environment that we have tucked away in the middle of Leyland.
Running is a popular sport for blind and partially sighted athletes, and running a marathon without the use of sight is both challenging and rewarding. Nottingham's Nathan Edge is one of these very runners. He's on an inspiring, ambitious and somewhat exhausting journey. Notts TV reports.
26.2 miles is a long distance for any runner, but imagine doing it without your eyes to guide you. After being diagnosed with a rare eye disease at a young age, Nathan didn't think there was much chance of a normal life.
When I first lost my sight, I mean, I'll be quite honest, it was devastating. I wasn't prepared for it, I didn't expect it. Nobody knew it was going to kind of happen, but and for it to go so quickly, it was like, how do you adjust to that? For a good month, I was letting it beat me, but eventually I managed to pull myself out of that. And that was thanks to Hudson and thanks to guiders for giving me that support. Once I kind of started moving forward in my life, I still felt like there was something missing. And you know, back when I was younger, I used to be very, very active, and I needed that back in my life. So that's why I wanted to set myself the challenge of running a marathon.
Nathan can't achieve his goal alone, so he's recruited Pete, a trained guide runner who is also partially sighted.
He puts his trust in me 100%, and my only job really is to keep him safe. Most of the time you're running in a straight line, with just two lads having a chat about football, and the fact that Nathan can't do it without a guide runner, I do struggle to get to grips with that sometimes.
Running the London Marathon wasn't something that crossed my mind. I mean, I watched it on TV and things like that, but I never really pictured myself doing something like that. But I think in some sort of weird way, since losing my sight, I've also lost a lot of fear, and now I just want to go out there and do these things and challenge myself.
The journey to race day is about more than just a simple marathon. The pair have so far raised £4,000 towards their £7,000 target, and Nathan hopes that this money will give someone else their very own equivalent of guide dog Hudson.
It's time for more little-known facts and local history in Creative Kingdom.
Ah, bonny Scotland. Its majestic lochs, its imperious glens, its beautiful cash point machines. Yes, if you've ever been stuck in town at 3 a.m. with no taxi money, you owe a debt of thanks to the Scots. It all started in the mid-60s when John Shepherd, Baron of Inverness, had his very own eureka moment in the bath. Why can't we get cash from a vending machine like we can with chocolate? He immediately sold his idea to a bank, and in 1967, the world's first cash point was opened in Enfield by Reg Varney from On the Buses. Now, at first, you could only get your money out with a cheque coated in a radioactive substance until another Scotsman, James Goodfellow of Paisley, invented the pin code system. Proof once again that when it comes to innovation, creativity, and being on the money, in Scotland mint.
The National Trust are keeping an eye out as it's seal pup time in Blakeney. The pregnant seals move on to the local beach, ready to give birth. And these vulnerable little seal pups not only need their seal mums, but also the good people of Norfolk to keep a careful watch over them.
They're familiar furry faces, and for us here in Norfolk, one of the early signs of winter. The first seal pup of the year has been born at Blakeney. It was spotted by a boat trip operator over the weekend and is the first of thousands expected to appear over the coming months as seals flock to our coastline to give birth and breed. The National Trust look after them during their stay. They say it's great to have them back.
It's a fantastic time, real sense of suspense and excitement about what lays ahead and how many seal pups we'll see being born on Blakeney this year.
Obviously for the local businesses and the seal boat providers at Morstan Quay, obviously it's a big thing for them. It brings them much needed revenue during the winter time.
Last year's seal season saw a few of the seal pups abandoned by their mothers after visitors got too close and scared them off. And they're particularly at risk in the first few weeks.
They're dependent on their mother's milk for the first 3 weeks, so it's vital that they stay with her.
So the first pregnant female seals have already pulled themselves out of the sea and onto the beach at Blakeney Point behind me. It's an exciting time of year for both the people of Norfolk and for the National Trust.
Finally, we head over to the Royal Liverpool Hospital to view a special exhibition of breast cancer survivors, telling their story of reconstructive surgery. With 50 portraits of women across the UK, Bay TV Liverpool reports.
It's just a fun part of a very, very serious situation, getting the word across. And when I look at the photograph, I look at somebody who's happy with herself, within herself as well. And the whole exhibition is femininity within, because you could put me in a boiler suit and hobnail boots, I would still feel feminine within. I went through obviously the mastectomy, I went through chemotherapy, radiotherapy, the whole lot, lost my hair. And it was a matter of getting to know who I was at that time, because obviously it wasn't the me that I knew. When someone's taking away, you look back to what you had. I don't. I look at what I've got now, and what I've got now is very similar to a normal breast. To everybody's perception, it is a normal breast, and I'm quite happy.
Photographer Julia Holland took the idea and has developed it over 2.5 years, and now actually we do have a waiting list of ladies who would like to have their pictures taken. Let's be perfectly honest, reconstruction is not for everybody. There are some ladies who are perfectly happy not to have a reconstruction, and we respect them for that. That's entirely up to them. But for those that have gone through breast cancer surgery following a mastectomy, and they want to look at what the reconstruction opportunities there are, here are 50 portraits of wonderful ladies of all ages, from 30 to 70, from around the country, who are saying, look at me, I'm alive, there is light at the end of that tunnel.
And that completes our best of local selection. If our stories have warmed your hearts, then don't forget there's more you can see on the local TV channels' websites. Or why not catch up on previous episodes of the show by visiting bbc.co.uk/Digital Nation. Until next week, goodbye.